Welcome to the Digital Business Evolution Podcast, a place that you can now call home. I know you're creating long-lasting impact in this world, and you absolutely deserve the time, location, career, and financial freedom that you desire. I'm here to guide you with proven strategies, tools, and mindset hacks that I've taught to thousands of business owners. You'll also be hearing from exceptional guests sharing stories of their own personal and business evolution. My name is Jessica DeRose, and I'm here to teach you what I'm learning. We are all inherently worthy, regardless of the number of degrees, awards, and accolades that we've collected along the way. Grab a notebook, a coffee, and enjoy the show. Hey, I'm jumping on real quick to let you know about a really cool opportunity to work with me completely for free. So every Tuesday, I'm offering coaching over texting. And that means the first 10 people to text me on my number and ask me a question, I'm going to coach them back completely for free. Voice memos, long form text, it 100% is me. This is the stuff that lights me up most in my business. So your questions can be anything from business to strategy, working with your spouse, RV life. Really, there are no questions off the table. You just need to make sure that you get it in quickly on Tuesdays because I am only coaching the first 10 people. So my number is 973-358-7836. This is for US numbers only. Make sure on Tuesdays you text me your questions. I'll get you your answers, and you'll be added to my text community where you're going to be getting different texts from me throughout the week. Strategies, motivation, all the things. So 973-358-7836. Can't wait to hear from you. Oh my goodness. Digital Business Evolution. Welcome back to the show. Today we have such an incredible guest here that I can't stop smiling ear to ear. Number one, because we just spent the last 20 minutes chit-chatting, laughing, and, we should have hit the record button so you could hear us, but also because this topic, this woman is just so crucial to business. And yet it's the thing that so many people put off till the last minute. So today we have the one and only Shannon Weinstein here, who, man, Shannon and I, we were just talking about this. We've known each other now for about 4 years. And she said, we've basically gone to college together and we've never met in person, which is just insane. So I'll read her official bio, but Shannon Weinstein is a CPA. She happens to be our CPA. She's a tax strategist. She's a speaker, podcast host, virtual CFO. She's a digital nomad, and she's a puppeteer. She also is one of the coaches inside of Empower, our signature program. And she's just so incredible. So let me do her formal bio, and then she can intro herself. Shannon is a CPA, CFO, and strategist for small business owners who want more perspective and less paperwork when it comes to their finances. Her company, Financial Solutions, offers accounting, tax strategy, and coaching delivered from the heart of a teacher. Her real-life relatable examples make financial side of business less daunting so that you can focus on serving your customers. She's the host of the Keep What You Earn podcast and a frequent speaker in masterminds and business communities. Shannon, welcome to the show.
What a great welcome. And I love that you added puppeteer to the mix. I think that's my next evolution is going to be working for the Muppets or something with little Shannon. Amazing.
My creative freedom. I decided to add that. So if you have no idea what we're talking about, you immediately need to go to Shannon's Instagram page at Shannon K. Weinstein. And she had this incredible puppet created and made for her that looks like her to basically deliver content. And you know what? Let's just start there. Why did you have a puppet made?
Oh, because I'm boring and she's not. So I have a theory, and you can probably relate to this listening, that the financial stuff in business is not fun. Nobody likes it. I feel like I'm the person trying to get you to eat your vegetables, and I'm like not, you know what I mean? It's like you got like someone next to me who's serving ice cream and I'm serving broccoli, and I'm the least popular person in like the business cafeteria, right?
I mean, I like broccoli.
That's true. That's a bad example with you. Vegan ice cream.
Touche.
But the key thing here is I wanted to find a way, like, how can I infuse a little bit more fun? And I subscribe to this theory that it's not the subject, it's the teacher sometimes. Sometimes even the most fun subjects could be delivered really boring, and vice versa. Like, I think a lot of us chose our college majors, chose our career paths because of who influenced us when we were younger and what classes we liked. But part of what we liked about those classes was the experience with the teacher. So I said, how can I be an enjoyable teacher. And it actually popped up that, hey, I was a kid of the 90s. We learned everything from puppets and cartoons. And I tried the cartoon route, and that's way too expensive. We tried. And I was like, yeah, it's not going to really work for like $1,000 for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I went the puppet route, and I have had so much fun with that one.
Yeah, I love it. And I love what you just said too. It's not always the subject matter, it's the teacher. And what a great lens to really have that perspective as a business owner, to have that understanding. So I know a lot about you. We've worked together in a lot of different capacities now for the last couple of years. And so you alluded to something, and you said a lot of times when we're younger, it's the classes we take or the teachers that we have that influence something. And I know that your dad had a huge influence on you when it came to getting into accounting and essentially crunching numbers and, pushing the pencil in the paper and doing the things. So can you take us back to the story of how you became an accountant and why you chose CPA?
Yeah. And I love to push the pencil in the paper, because we didn't have Excel back then. We did stuff manually. So how I'll tell you, if you meet somebody who's like over the age of 30 in accounting, it's like, they really love it because they had to do this on paper at one point. So yeah, I lost a bet with my dad in high school, because we had a high school class that was accounting 101. Basically, there was intro to business accounting. We were very lucky that they offered this. I did not realize how rare this was. So you had to take a certain number of arts classes, and then they called it practical arts, which I thought was interesting. Practical arts classes, keyboarding, typing, one of them. Yay, millennials.
Yeah, I took that as well. My mom made me.
And Microsoft Word and Access and all that stuff. So those were all like electives you could take, right? Accounting was one. So my dad was a CPA, by the way, lifelong CPA. And ever since I was in kindergarten, he was like, do you want to be an accountant? And I was like, no. And then I basically, I said, no, I don't want to take this class. I don't want to be an accountant. I said no since the day that I could say no. And you don't want to be what your parents want you to be. You're like, no, I don't want to do that. So what ended up happening was I said, okay, fine. He made me a bet, and I was super competitive with him. We bet on everything. And he said, if you hate it, take the class. If you hate it, I'll never bug you again. But if you love it, you got to major in it. So I was like, no brainer. I'm going to hate the crap out of this. I'm going to hate it. It's going to be miserable. I'm going to prove him wrong.
It's on.
Yeah, it's on. I'm super competitive. So within 2 weeks, I was bumped to honors accounting with over 100 average, and I loved it.
Wait, were you always good at math though? Did that always come easily to you?
Yes, but believe it or not, accounting has nothing to do with math. It's more like law than math. It's learning rules and making no assumptions and just accepting them as truth. And being able to remember the rules, and work within the rules. But math, the only math is plus or minus. There's no algebra. There's no what was it? Y equals mx plus b, whatever it is. There was none of that, even though I kind of like that too. And like problem solving, right?
Right.
Accounting is more, two directions. It's going up, going down, but there's a science behind it and rules that I really enjoyed learning. And it came easy to me. I was like, this makes total sense. This is easy. And my dad pulled me aside. I wanted to be a Spanish teacher. I don't know if I told you that.
No, but how funny now, which we'll get to, part-time living in Costa Rica, it all comes together. Okay. So you wanted to be a Spanish teacher. You get moved 2 weeks in, you get moved up to honors.
Yeah. And I said, well, my dad knew I wanted to be a teacher of some kind. I actually wanted to draw. I wanted to be a Disney animator. Glad that didn't work out, because I would have to work on computers anyway.
But look, now you're a puppeteer.
I know, right? Full circle moments everywhere. So what ended up happening was he pulled me aside after the parent teacher conference stuff. And he was like, listen, you want to teach people. You want to teach people language. Why? So they can understand the language and they can better their lives, right? Well, this is a language that very few people speak, Shan. And if you want to teach a language, this is the language to teach. And then he also, in his very, if anyone knew my dad, in his very Michael Keane way, he would say, also, do you like going to Disney World as much as we do? Because, yeah. Because I think you're going to want to be an accountant. So do you like the insert thing here we have at our house? Do you like this? Well, you're going to need to make money. And when you make money, he actually told me this when I was 17. He's like, you can afford to make more time when you have more money to do those other things that you love.
Wow.
Otherwise, you're going to be doing those things until you're, blood, sweat, and tears coming out, and you're not going to enjoy it because you're going to have no time left.
Okay, hold on. Wise man, your father.
Yes.
I love this analogy of, if you want to teach a language, why don't you teach this language, right? Accounting is a language that most people don't understand. And that is so true. I see it in business all the time. I mean, so do you, even working together. It's like, how many coaches and entrepreneurs have we collectively worked together with over the years that are clueless, myself included, clueless when it comes to the accounting and the numbers, or who are afraid to look, because ignorance is bliss. And so sometimes it's easier to not know and to shove it down and to put it aside, which I know you navigate that every year during tax season. And so what I'd love to ask now is, you're 17 years old. Your dad makes this comment about, if you like these things, if you want these things, then, here's an opportunity for you to make enough money to do those things. How did that really frame your money mindset? How did it impact your money mindset? And have you done work to shift it, change it? And just in general, I'm so curious, as a CPA, what is your money mindset?
So that's a really great question. I love that you asked me that. So number one, my dad is the ultimate salesperson. He was always really good at sales, and he ran his own firm ever since he was like less than 30 years old, because he's had his own firm, I think, my whole life. And he did that so that he could, build wealth for me and for my sister. And so what was interesting was the way he approached that. He knew that he was going to tap into my desires, my wants, my pain points, if you will. And he knew he was going to say, you want to learn a language and teach a language, Shan, this is your opportunity. And he sold me.
Yeah.
He completely sold me. And how has that, gosh, we're talking about the guy who bought me a stock certificate in Toys R Us instead of a toy, because he said, wouldn't you rather own a piece of everything in this store than that one Barbie?
Wow.
How? And then he explained to me when I was 12 years old or 10 years old, how that works. And ever since the day I turned 14, I had to go get a worker's permit because my dad said, you got to start working. So I've been working since I was 14. I worked at McDonald's for 6.5 years.
Wow.
Learned work ethic and learned a lot of stuff about business very quickly. By the time I was 16 or 18, I was closing the store and I was doing inventory, and I was running a McDonald's location by the age of 18 as like a head of training and onboarding.
That's crazy. Where is this? Connecticut?
Yeah. And I was actually up in Boston.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, greatest experience of my life. Like, and worst at times, but like,
yeah. Did you ever resent him for this type of work ethic, this trickle down? No,
it's the greatest gift he gave me that I never got to thank him for. It's the greatest gift he gave me. I never got to thank him for. He never saw me start my business. He never even saw me in fitness, which started in 2013.
Wow.
He never saw when he was gone. He passed away in 2013. And when he was gone, I had just left Ernst & Young, Big Four accounting firm, after making it to manager, when I realized that I had done every piece of advice he'd given me. And the last piece of advice, this is kind of what frames how I approach business now. The last piece of advice he gave me, because I said, Dad, what's next? Like, I made manager. I did everything you told me to do. I followed all the laid out rubric steps. Like, I did everything on the list. Enneagram 3, right? I did everything on the list that I was supposed to do. What's next? I'm miserable in my job. What do I do next? And he goes, can I cuss on the show, by the way?
Sure.
Yeah. He said, do whatever the fuck you want, Shan. And he was like on his deathbed telling me this, right? And I was like, do whatever the fuck you want. He's like, you're there. All I wanted you to do was get to the place where you could do whatever the fuck you want. And I was like, what? Like, I have this visual of me standing in this, like, going down this road that's carved out for me, going down this road and then getting to a place where the road stops and the possibilities are endless. And I was overwhelmed. Yeah,
that was going to be my next question. Was it overwhelming?
So overwhelming, because I was like, wait, I don't have choices. There's nothing finite. There's not A, B, or C.
You have so many choices. You have an abundance of choices.
Infinite choices of what I could do, which is a blessing and a curse for someone like me.
Yeah.
So it was really hard for me to say, like, okay, what do I do next? And this is that paralysis analysis, right, that we get into as entrepreneurs as well, where it's like, we get so stuck in analyzing the decision that we don't make a decision and take action, right?
Sure.
I was the anti-messy action back then. I was the, okay, now what? And that led me to go, well, the only way to find out is to go do something and try.
Yeah.
And that led me down a whole new approach to my life and my business, which was try it, we'll figure it out, and we'll change it if we don't like it.
So when you were deciding to try different things, like we always say, there's clarity and contrast, right? So the doing is what shows you. Were you still working a 9 to 5?
Yeah. Oh, I was still working if you want to call it a 9 to 5, it was more like an 8 to 7.
Well, up until just this year.
Yeah. So it was, I was working full time, but I knew I was not fulfilled. That's where I kind of got into fitness and found other hobbies and other passions, because I knew that was not going to be enough for me, especially feeling a void, losing my dad, and feeling like I need to find a community. I need to find a space. I need to find support. I was single, living in Boston and traveling 5 to 6 days a week. So it was like, I never felt grounded, you know, I wanted to find some grounding.
So when you were searching for the grounding and the community and the support and all these things that every listener right now can resonate with, it's like outside of work, we do the things to fulfill our soul, right? Our hobbies, all of that. Did you ever think at that time, were you thinking that those things could turn into a different business or stream of revenue? Or was it solely, this is to fill my cup?
So it was just to fill my cup, which is why it's so magical, right? Because I didn't go in with the intention of using it to build a business.
Yeah.
I always kind of thought one day, my dad begged me to inherit his firm up in suburban Boston in this little house he had 2 employees, and he did condo associations. Like that's all he worked with, were condo associations. And he was like, well, Shannon, do you want my firm when I pass away? Because by the way, he was diagnosed and lived for 5 years. We kind of had time to plan, and we were kind of talking about these things. And he said, well, when I go, do you want the firm? And I said, no. And because I was in my mid-20s, I was traveling the world on a company dime. I was thriving. I loved it. And I said, no, I'm not ready to go back to, little suburban Massachusetts and be in that little space. I'm just not ready to do that. And the irony was, the year after he passed, I was like, yeah, I think I want to chill out. I was traveling all the time and I was exhausted and burnt out. So yeah, it was really important for me to find an outlet. And I realized that I kind of did want to follow in his footsteps. Naturally, I said, I just want to build my own schedule, my own clients. I want to choose who I work with. That would be so cool. Like, how did Dad do it? And I never could ask him, right? So I was kind of thinking, what do I like to do? And how could I build something on the side? And I actually wanted to build up my fitness business initially, which is what we talked about on our call back in 2019. I was like, I don't know. And you kind of met me at that space where I said, I just know I need to do something. I need to be, because now that you know me and my personality, like I was getting restless because I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't growing. I wasn't moving forward. So, and that's how we met. And I had this idea back in 2015 as I was working in Zumba, I was working with a lot of fitness professionals like in the community. And I realized that they were asking me all these questions about taxes and about numbers and money and investing. And I was like, you guys don't know this? And not in a judgmental way. I had literally grown up my whole life around this information, even in high school, middle school, and around my dad. And I was like, for me, it was like ABC 1, 2, 3. We all know this stuff. And it was all taught to me the same way. So I'm going, oh, you guys, wait, wait a second.
Yeah.
You guys don't know this stuff. And again, not in a judgmental fashion. I finally realized, oh, not everyone learned this.
Yeah.
Oh, I have information they don't, especially because I was the young gun who was around a bunch of people smarter than me all day long. So it was cool.
I want to take a pause for a second. This is huge. We talk about this all the time. This is huge. You grew up in this bubble. You were in these conversations. This was your day job, so to you, it didn't feel like you had something special. You didn't realize that you knew something that other people didn't know. It was just, it's kind of innate. It's just the conversations that you're having. What do you mean? So many new entrepreneurs, so many striving entrepreneurs or coaches or service leaders, they get stuck here because they don't realize that what they just know is enough. They don't realize that what they have is enough. And it's not until you're in a room of other people that you say something off the cuff that you just think everybody knows, you assume is normal. And someone says, wait, what? And it's these little moments, these little light bulb moments of, wait, what? Wait, hold on. I didn't know that. Hold on. Can you tell me more? Where we sometimes start to recognize, oh, I think I actually have something here to share. But then what I think most people get stuck is the next step, which is, now what do I do with this information? How do I give this to other people? How do I share? How do I package this? How do I sell this? What's the price point? And so insert for us, 2019, you came knocking on my virtual door. I have no idea how you found me. And you said, hey, can you help me? I think I want to create something and I'm not even 100% sure what it is. And at the time, you wanted to go down more of the fitness path, and being as coachable as you are and being as open as you are, I kind of put my foot down and was like, at the time, very ego driven. No, you're wrong. There's a better thing for you to do. There's a thing in the market that people need you, and it's not for fitness. I said, it's for finances for the fitness professional. And you were so open and you were so coachable, and you were like, all right, let's try it.
Yeah. And that was actually, so in the back of my mind, I actually had Financial Solutions.
Yeah, you had already had the logo.
And I got it in 2015 with the idea, because I had this idea and I started doing this stuff, and I imagined all these things, but I didn't do anything with it because I didn't know where to start. And I knew that was where this was going to end up going eventually. But what I was thinking was, it just doesn't happen like that, Shannon. You need to go build your fitness career and meet more people and elevate yourself there. And then maybe people will recognize you, and then maybe they'll hire you for the financial stuff. So it was basically this like craving for credibility and this desire to elevate all the same, all the same stuff we deal with Empower now, with everyone coming in. I was in the exact same place where I said, well, no, I need to go get more things, and I need to go look better, and I need to go do these things before I can show up and ask for people to hire me for this other thing. And it's like, why would you be more fit or better at fitness? Why would that make people hire you to be their accountant?
Right.
So, which was like, it seems like a silly logical thing, but you get where someone could come from there. So I immediately was like, actually, I had this idea. Please tell me I'm not crazy. I've never shown anyone this logo. And you saw it and you were like, done. We're building this. Done. We're building this. Here's my invoice. Let's go. And I was like, let's do it. And I literally binged all of your videos that weekend while I was traveling away for work. And I was like, oh, we're doing this. And it was like the most I had invested in anything like that up until that point.
Yeah.
And it was kind of scary, but it was also, I got this like jolt of, I'm like pushing those chips to the center of the table and going, I'm all in and betting on myself. Let's go.
Yeah. One of the things that I just want to say to the audience that's listening, and you've heard me say it before, so you might smile or giggle. I call you the queen of grit. And I've called you that since I've known you. And this has nothing to do with Empower or anything. It has everything to do with, I've watched you build your business. I've watched you scale your team. I've watched you create this agency. I've watched you step into a completely different version of yourself. And what I've seen over and over and over and over is, number one, taking coaching calls. We joke, but when you were at your work, your day job, you were taking coaching calls in the broom closet. Like you were consuming content in the stairwell.
Yeah.
Right?
In my car.
In your car.
I was like, I was trying to find any place I could find where no one would see what I was doing and question. Because you guys know how it is in cubicles. It's like, can I just find a private place? No, there's no privacy.
Right.
You have to go to your car. You have to go make an excuse to leave. It was awful.
No. You say you have to go do these things. You don't. You chose to. And that's what I just love about you. And I just give you so much credit, because most people don't do that because that is hard, or that is weird, or that's uncomfortable. And for you, it was something that you got to do. You saw it and you got to do it. So you took the opportunity to go sit in your car, to take the call, to learn the thing. And just, queen of grit, reaching out to people, not being afraid to put yourself out there, jumping on, Instagram lives, not caring that you didn't have a big following or whatever it would be. You just have consistently, I watched you do it with your podcast. I'm going to figure it out. I'm just consistently going to figure it out. And you've always been so resourceful. And if there's one thing as an outsider that I feel I could credit your business success to, it's that ability to two things: be coachable and just be so damn resourceful.
Yeah. And that was I think it was like the domino tipping of you giving us all this great advice, like, go do this now. And again, Enneagram 3, right? To my bones. But you were so good with direction where it was like, for example, go sign up for an Amazon affiliates account right now. Okay, pause. I would go do it. I was such a good student, as you can probably tell, that I was like, okay, homework done, next.
Yeah.
And I actually I got like addicted. I was like, this is fun. I'm seeing immediate results and immediate momentum and action from this. And I was like, okay, great. I feel amazing. Every time I learn something from Jess or the other people in this community, I feel amazing. And it was actually, in a way, it was filling a void of the advice and the counsel and the coaching that I no longer had from my dad. But I was like, I need someone to tell me what to do. He told me everything I needed to do to succeed, thank God. But I became reliant on that. And I realized I need to get resourceful because I don't have that anymore.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to today and let's talk about what the business looks like today. And then I want to shift gears big time. So what does the current structure of the business look like? Because now you have Keep What You Earn, this incredible podcast, Financial Solutions is running. You've got the agency side of things, the tax, the strategy. So just kind of break that down for us.
Oh gosh, it changed. Like by the time this airs, it'll probably change again.
Yeah. Well, and you left your job, your 8 to 7 job.
7. Yeah, I was at a director level managing a team of 9 just 6 months ago at a corporate job. And believe me, it was a choice, but it kind of wasn't, because we got to a point with Financial Solutions where I was like, I need to make a choice here because I am at capacity. It was a level of burnout I've never felt in my life, even when I was working 12-hour days in accounting. The energy consumption of a half-hour call here and then going to my other laptop and doing an hour call here and then back again, and my brain bouncing between 2 very different things. Yeah. And managing teams, it just got to be too much. And this past year, I made the call. I sat down with my husband, Jason, and I basically said, I ran the cash flows. I did it for myself. I figured out that I should be able to get through tax season, and we should be able to go full time and make this work. I know it's earlier than we planned, but I need to make this choice. I cannot do this. I cannot do tax season like this. Yeah. I will die. And I will not be able to support you and help you. And we got to a point where I said, give me, and this is a great way to approach it for anyone who's in this position. I said, give me 5 months. It was January. I said, give me until June to prove to you that this can sustain. And if it doesn't, again, worst case scenario, we get into the worst case scenario, I go get another job. I was miserable at that job anyway. I was probably going to, if I didn't leave for good, I would have left and found another job. I said, my dad's words rang in my head, do whatever the fuck you want. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then if it doesn't work out, I have so many landing pads, so many safety nets, so many places I could go that would welcome me.
Was Jason on board?
He was 100. You know what? It was funny that we talked about, let's wait a little bit. Like, he had surgeries coming up. He had other things going on. And he was like, just wait. But then he saw my face and he was like, all right, when do you want to quit? And I was like, I would like to go to Costa Rica for our next trip without my laptop. And he was like, done. When's your last day? I said, January 29th. He's like, good. Give him 3 weeks notice. We're good. I immediately burst into tears and gave him a hug.
So hold on, what would you do? Because so many people listening right now are like, must be nice. My spouse isn't supportive, or I don't have friends or family that are supportive. So what would you have done, do you think, if he wasn't supportive?
So he was, let me be clear, he was supportive.
But still scared.
But he was not, but he was not like, go ahead and quit like 2 years ago. He was like, you're not there yet.
Okay.
He was like bringing me back down to earth going, you're not there yet. We can't yet. You need to be the stable one, because he was running a business that had a lot of volatility. So he was like, you need to be the consistent cash flow right now. And I really need you to do that. And we kept building. And then I just said, like, babe, I ran the numbers. I looked at all of this. I worked all weekend trying to figure out how to make this work. And he saw the effort. He saw that I was like on the verge of this big decision. And he was like, this is what will make her happy. Like, not the stable cash flow stuff. We'll figure it out. We'll be okay. For 6 months, we'll be okay. And it was that faith and that kind of support. And he is the most supportive. Like, I honestly thought he was going to make fun of my podcast and like all this stuff, because he's not very like into all the online stuff and the manifesting and the woo-woo. Like he would roll his eyes. And I was like, I have a podcast. He's like, I don't even know what do you do with a podcast? Like, where are the podcasts on my phone type of person?
Yeah.
And I made him, so I subscribed for him so he could subscribe to your thing for me. So, and now all he does is brag about it. He's like, my wife, she has a top 100 entrepreneurship podcast, and she's like number 20 in Namibia. Did you know that? Like, he thinks it's so cool.
It is so cool.
Yeah. And he brags about it, supports it. And he even got me like all this new equipment for it for Christmas. And it was like, wow. You know what it is? I think that your partner, they're probably supportive, but you have to look at how they show it and how it's coming across, because Jason is the type of person, like, the love language is not words. His is like acts of service and like, hey, I got you the sound equipment. That's him saying, I love that you're doing this and I want to make it better and I want you to enjoy it. So there's other ways people can show their support for you that you may not really realize.
Yeah.
And I think that there's support there, but there's also looking out for you.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, I'm popping in to tell you something super juicy. And no, I promise I won't be selling you anything. Join me on July 13th for a free interactive workshop packed with hands-on coaching and direct one-on-one insight during our live Q&A. We'll be deep diving into each of the 4 coaching superpowers so that you can harness your strengths and navigate your blind spots to amplify your message, income, and impact. Taking the quiz and knowing your unique superpower is only step 1. This workshop will enable you to uncover what it all means and how you can actually leverage this information in your business, life, and relationships. Be sure to head over to our show notes and get yourself registered. I'll see you there. All right, so let's put a bow on some of the personal stuff so we can shift over to some of the money stuff. Of course, you are living this kind of, you can't call it bi-coastal. What do you call it? Bi-country? So you're going back and forth between Costa Rica, where you were able to build a house, which is incredible, and then back to the States and working for yourself now and scaling this team, scaling this company. And it's just been the coolest thing to watch. So you work with a lot of different levels of entrepreneur and coach, as well as general population, right? Small business owners, mostly. True? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which is your favorite type, or which is your favorite level of entrepreneurs or business owner?
Favorite? Oh, I'm going to make some people happy and some people not happy with that. And that's
fine.
So basically I have 2 different, Keep What You Earn is like I call it the kids table. It's like the brand for the early stage entrepreneur. And it's kind of I love that. I will always love teaching. I will always have to have an element of teaching in what I do. And Keep What You Earn is like my outlet for teaching. And I will always love that. So I love the early stage business owner, because it's like talking to, not talking to kids, but you know what I mean? It's like that, like
sponge.
Enthusiasm,
Yeah.
But that eagerness, that enthusiasm, the curiosity, the questions, and the basics that make me go, oh, like, and question the way I've always been taught or how I'm thinking of things. And they challenge me to come up with new ways to explain something in basic terms that I think is really fun. So I love the early stage, like 1 to 3 year business owner. And on the flip side, of course, with CFO work and tax strategy, I work with scaling business owners between roughly right now, my average is between 1 and 5 million in revenue. So there's a big gap between those 2, but it's really fun working with both. There's different new levels, new devils, right? Yeah. Different challenges, different struggles and problems to solve, but equally fun for me.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take it. I feel like we've been on both ends of your work as well. So we've been able to see kind of both sides of it. And as a coach, I know, like I alluded to it earlier, so many entrepreneurs, so many coaches, so many small business owners are resistant to doing this work. They're resistant to setting up, whether it's simple bookkeeping or finally filing whatever it is they need to file, or doing the information and the research to see, is it best for me to be an LLC or an S Corp? And this is how it's so beautiful when you talk about kind of the legal side and the financial side, how one is sort of like a personal trainer and one is sort of a nutritionist, and you kind of need both working together in order to get the result that you want. So I see this resistance all the time. And the most common thing that I hear is like, I'm not there yet. I'm not ready yet. I haven't made money, or I haven't made enough money to go do these things. But then tax season comes around, and then it's kind of frantic and stressful for this person. And they don't have everything in place that they could have had in place. So I'm putting you on the spot right now. What are the top like 3 things you would tell a newer business owner to make sure that they have in place, even when they feel like it's not time?
Mm-hmm. I would say it's never too early for anything. It's never too early for anything when it comes to setting up your business correctly. And a lot of the stories that new entrepreneurs tell themselves, like when they say, oh, I'm not going to do an LLC yet, or this yet until I'm here. I'm telling you, that's your doubt creeping in saying, if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to keep the stakes really high.
Ooh.
But what's happening is a lot of people are saying, well, if I don't do too much now, I won't feel so bad when it fails. But if the more I pour into this, the more at stake, then the more it's going to hurt. It's like dabbling in dating, and it's like, well, I'm not gonna like get to know this person really well and ask them about their family and meet their parents, like, because that means I'm actually going to start having feelings for these people.
Yeah.
And then if we break up, I'm going to be hurt. And as everyone knows, that the pain of that is not a reason to avoid it altogether. So I think that creeps in a lot. So it's never too early to lay the right foundation for your business, number one. And I would say that you have to look at the knowledge as power and as something that will help you, because I think that people avoid it out of fear. They avoid it out of, it's not fun. There's so many different reasons to avoid the financial side, but at the end of the day, like, we're all here to make money. Your business is here to make you money. And it's like avoiding talking to your nutritionist, right? Or like logging your food, but then expecting to still lose weight or to get healthier. You have to track the data. You have to collect the data. And the longer history you have of that data, the more valuable it is, because you can notice patterns, you can notice trends, you can notice consequences of certain decisions.
Yeah.
And that's powerful, even in the early stage. So I'd say those are my top ones.
So as a CPA or a CFO, however you're sort of stepping in to help these business owners, how do you help? I'm assuming this comes up often. How do you help these business owners, these people, manage their feelings of maybe shame or guilt or embarrassment because, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I was actually in the red, or I haven't been tracking, or I'm so embarrassed that XYZ, I didn't pay off this card, or whatever it might be. How are you helping them, where you can maybe give the audience a couple tricks or tips if they're feeling a little bit of guilt or shame?
I think part of it is that we have one of our core attributes in financial solutions is compassionate service, meeting the customer where they're at. So one of the things that we talk about in the team is understanding the goals of the client first. Everything anchors to the client goal. So understanding who the client is. And actually, I just brought on a team member, and instead of going through all the books and the numbers and the metrics and the margins for every client, that's fine. She'll figure that out. I actually sat down and we did a discussion about the who. Who is behind this brand? What are they trying to do? I even went to, here are their kids' names. Here's what they're trying to do for their kids. Here's where they like to go for travel. Here's what they, and it's that level of knowledge of the person where we basically take on a coaching role. We're talking to them about, what are your personal goals? What are you trying to accomplish here? And make it approachable. Because to your point, like, people want to avoid it. They don't want to look at it. And we try to make it so that even if the subject is not their favorite, that they're open to talking about it with me and my team, that they're open to saying, hey, Shannon, I got a letter from the mail and from the IRS. And honestly, I find it to be a victory when my clients text me and say, hey, I just got a letter. Because so many of them just 6, 12, 18 months ago would have gotten a letter, hid it under a drawer, thrown it out, never wanted to look at it. But now they're opening it because they have someone to send it to and talk to.
Yeah.
I realize that if we can step into that role, then we've succeeded in opening up their mind to it.
Yeah. It's huge. Okay, let's go here. So there is a ton of content on the internet, of course, like everything, about lots of different subjects. So the first one that's coming up for me, and I would just love to hear your opinion as a professional, the first one that's coming up is a lot of business coaches and mentors are creating content around writing stuff off everything gets written off, right? Oh my God, did you know you could write this trip off and this dinner off and these shoes off and this photo shoot off? So what's your opinion on that? Could it be a dangerous area? And is it true that we actually can write a ton of stuff off?
So it's true you can write a ton of stuff off. It's not true you can write off some of the stuff that they tell you on these. However, well, in my opinion.
Sure.
So here's how the rules work. There's this big gray area where us as professionals use our judgment based on our knowledge of the rules and the way we interpret them to decide if something is a yay or nay, or if it's going to be good for the business owner or not. And what we see on social media, and just keep this in mind with anything you read on social media, in the news or anything, that they have 30 seconds to cram as much as possible to invoke your curiosity so that you go take an action. They are marketers too. So remember that you're watching a commercial where you're going to see the highlight. You're going to see the best possible outcome. You're going to see the exceptional and outstanding thing that could happen if you do this strategy. So you're going to see entrepreneurs all the time. There's some that come to mind that are walking in and out of Louis Vuitton and they're real. They're talking about how just do this and you can deduct your Louis and deduct this. And all of us tax pros cringe because we're like, crap, now we have to be the parent who's like, no, honey, you can't do that. Sorry. Like, we have to be the bearers of bad news. But then we also, the fact that we're being set up to disappoint our clients is where it bugs me, because that I don't want to disappoint like you guys as clients. I don't want you or Mike to call me and say, hey, I saw this thing on, we can get a G-Wagon for free because the IRS paid for it. And
for the record, we never called you and said that.
No. You never did. But people have DM'd me.
I'm sure.
People have DM'd me. And it's been like, we can do this? And I'm like, no. And like, so this person's lying. And I'm like, no. There's a big, it depends gray area. And for you, it would not make sense for the following reasons. But now I have to explain why they can't do something. And it's much more challenging for me as somebody who is kind of like, kind of a people pleaser too in customer service, who's like, no, we can't do that. And have to say no to somebody.
Yeah.
And looking out for their best interest, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of content out there on what you can write off, and you can write off a ton of stuff. Trust me. The only guidelines they give us are ordinary and necessary in the course of your business. Right. So would a G-Wagon make sense for an online business coach who doesn't leave their house that often? Not really. Right. So it's challenging sometimes. You have to understand context and nuance to really answer the question, which is why you guys hate when I give, I say you guys, like all of you listening, hate when I give like, it depends, or I can't really answer that because I have to know. It's like medical advice.
I was just going to say that.
Diet advice. It's like, hey, are cashews good for you? If you ask me, I'd be like, no, they will kill me because I'm allergic. So remember that like there's always somebody with the allergy. There's always somebody who's intolerant of these things or has a certain requirement. And, we all have to fuel our own bodies and our own businesses the way that we can. Yeah.
That was the exact example I was going to use. I think of someone has a medical issue or someone eats a certain way or whatever that might be. And when we're talking about food or medical things, like everything is context. And that's the most important word. So there's something else that I see a lot online around context, where people will often talk about how much money they made, how much revenue they're making. And I feel that they're leaving out very important context as things like what's their overhead, what's their actual profit, right? Because having an X amount of dollar month or an X amount of dollar launch is not the same thing as what you're actually keeping. And that's why the name of the podcast is Keep What You Earn, right? There's a big gap here. So I look at ourselves and the business that we're running, and we have team, we've got overhead, we've got paying for things like whether it's our podcast editor or Kajabi or Canva. We also then do ads, right? We're running ads. And so when you take all these things into consideration, this really big and sexy, flashy number gets depleted quite quickly. And so what are some of the things that you would say just to be mindful of that people often are leaving out contextually when it comes to numbers?
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that you're looking at it would be like someone saying, it would be like me saying I'm a size 8 because I was the lowest I ever was when you know what I mean? Like I weighed this much, or I lost, this is a great one, because this is true of me. I lost 40 pounds. Wow, that's amazing. I gained back 50, but I lost 40. At one point, it's like, if you accumulate if you present it in that light, right? It's like, I'm not lying to you by saying I lost 40 pounds, but there are certain assumptions you make when I say that, as though Shannon used to be 40 pounds heavier than she is today. That's not true. So it's the nuances of context, like you mentioned. And a lot of folks are broadcasting their annual revenue on their Instagram bios to establish credibility. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to realize that is the highest they've earned, probably they're showcasing. And you don't know if that's consistent. You don't know if they just touched that threshold. You don't know. You just don't know the whole story. So I would say, remember, they're doing that to establish authority and credibility. That I would not anchor to that as a comparable at all.
Yeah.
And the best thing you can do is understand your industry a bit. If you're in the coaching industry, the average margin for business coaching in the United States is roughly 8 to 10%.
Wow.
8 to 10%, which means 8 to 10, you're keeping a dime for every dollar you earn. Yeah.
Wow.
The average margin is about 10, 15, maybe 15%, like on the top end of the averages. And then anything above that, you're like crushing it. And
so where's it all going?
Other coaches. Other coaches.
But that's a write-off.
It's a Russian doll of coaching. That's all it is.
It is.
It is. It's coaches are investing in coaches who invest in coaches, and they're all making all this money so they can invest in the next coach. And it feels like an endless cycle. And I'm generalizing beyond belief, but that's what I'm seeing in the industry. And that's what those margins reflect, because it's true. Business coaching is a very young industry in the grand scheme of things. And I think that we're all still learning. We're investing in growth, right? But you have to know that's the expectation of that industry is it's very lucrative. You look online and you see these 7-figure earners, but I go, yeah, but what's the margin?
Yeah.
Because the margin is what you're actually keeping out of that. And believe it or not, most of the coaches, I would say, are south of 20% margin and not keeping enough, which is part of the mission of what we're doing with the podcast, talking about how to keep more of that money, because they realize after their first tax season or their first year in business that, wait a minute, I earned $800,000, $900,000. Why do I have this in my bank account left?
Yeah.
So it feeds the ego, but that's all it's really doing. I don't know where Mike got this, my coach, but I love his saying he shares with us, which is revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Mm-hmm. So that's
Michael King, right?
What's it? Michael King.
Michael King. Shout out to Michael. He and I were in a mastermind together a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So
he's the best.
He got that from somewhere. I know he's gonna try to like ditch the credit, but revenue, vanity, profit, sanity. I love that because it's so true. It's just a vanity.
Yeah, it really is. Okay. So as we start to put a bow on things, what would you say are one or two big mistakes that business owners make? Because even when you're talking about this idea of they're not keeping it, I jokingly said, where is it going? But I think a lot of people forget. I know for me, a lot of our coaches and entrepreneurs that I work with, as silly as it sounds, they forget that like 40, 50% goes to taxes, right? Like right off the top line, it's going to be cut almost in half just to go to taxes. So even if you're listening right now and you're like, I don't have a team, I barely have overhead, I only pay for Canva, it's $12 a month. Where's it all going, Shannon? So what are some of the kind of mistakes or blind spots that you would tell someone that's in business to look out for?
I think number one is not doing any tax planning, which a lot of them don't know is a thing. So you think that...
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah. So this is the best way I put it is, it's turning taxes from a game of pin the tail on the donkey to a game of darts.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Shannonisms.
Yeah. I love this one though, because I tell people we rip the blindfold off. It's the best way I can describe this. So I'm like, okay, it feels like the IRS is shaking a magic 8-ball and is like, you owe this much money. We just kind of accept it as truth and we don't question it. Like you just kind of like wait to decide your fate in April as though it's this random, predetermined, destined thing. And the truth of the matter is that you have complete control 9 months out of the year. Well, 12 months really, but 3 months or so of tax prep and then 9 months of tax planning to really make a difference in how the story goes, to co-author the story with your tax professional, not just have them publish what you wrote. So it's really important to work with the tax professional during the year to plan ahead and to strategize. Because the biggest mistake is waiting until you can have no control anymore, no time machine to go back, and no ability to change the outcome, and then getting upset over what happened, as opposed to planning ahead. It's, and for the fitness people who, I know you have a huge fitness audience, but it's, not doing meal prep and then eating Krispy Kreme and wondering what happened.
Yeah.
And don't wait until after it's all said and done until you get to this point to take action. It's about planning ahead and being proactive.
Yeah.
And working with them during the year to determine how it's going to go. And I say pin the tail on the donkey because, you feel like you're closing your eyes and trying to figure out what you're going to owe in taxes. And I'm like, actually, we could just take that blindfold off, show you exactly where the bullseye is and say, aim for that.
Yeah. I want to just publicly shout out both you and Mike, my husband, because something that I love about you and Financial Solutions is how open and willing you are, much like you are in your business and coaching, right? Mike has come to you a couple of times with things that he found out or thought of or heard of or read about because he loves that stuff. He came from the banking world, and he'll say, hey, Shannon, can we do this? Hey, Shannon, have you heard about this? And rather than just shooting him down or giving him a flat no, or even a flat yes, you always give him the time. You always give him the time. You get on the phone with him, you do the research, your team does the research, and you always come back with a solution of whether or not, and an answer of whether or not, yes, we can, or no, we can't. And I know there have been a couple of things that have actually saved us a ton on our tax return that I think, Mike initially brought to the table as like, hey, could we do this? And you were like, yeah, actually, and we can do it even better, or we can amplify it even bigger. So I just love how open you are, as opposed to guarded with an ego of I'm the tax professional, right? Like I'm the CPA. This is the way that we do it. So I'm just shouting you and your team out there.
Oh, totally. Mike tests me all the time.
I know.
I love it. I'm like, I got to pay attention because if Mike finds out something before I do, I'm going to I will literally find out a piece of news like that afternoon, but Mike will get it in the morning. I'm like, damn. I was like,
here I probably prefer when we're on Pacific Coast time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I would beat him to it on Pacific time, but yeah, no, it's actually a shout out to you guys as clients as well, and why you guys are such great clients, because I love being engaged in that dialogue and actually having Mike challenge me, but not in a negative way, but like in a, hey, remind me, why can't we do this? And I'm like, you know what? Let me, because it's that whole thing of you can't teach unless you can explain it,
yep.
Right? Or like you can't, do you really know it until you can teach it? And it allows me to go, can I explain this? Do I know enough to explain this? And do I need to go do more research? So it's constantly, it's feeding my growth. And I really appreciate that about how you guys approach it. And I do enjoy it. I enjoy kind of going back and forth with Mike and having him give me new ideas too.
Yeah.
That's exactly the client collaboration that leads to really good results.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thanks. We're just like so grateful for your openness to that. And it makes it more fun. It really does. So
yeah. It's unfortunate though, that it's uncommon for accountants these days.
Absolutely. I think it's easier to not be open. I think it's easier to do what you know and to not take the time to do the extra research or to have that conversation again. I think ego driven. It's just, this is what I do. Here's the box. You can fit inside the box. And if you don't, then go get a different box, All right. So as we start to wrap this up, I do want to ask you a couple rapid fire questions. Okay. So for someone who is, whether they're starting out or they're already scaling, maybe they're in 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever that might be, what are a couple places that you would tell people? Because I know your opinion on diversifying both your streams of revenue as well as where you put your money. So what would you say when it comes to diversifying your money? Like, where should it go first?
Okay. So I didn't disclaim the episode, but now I will.
Okay.
Say I'm not equipped to give investment advice. This is out of my scope. So as your friend Shannon having coffee with you that doesn't have 3 letters on her name, I would say I'm personally a fan of, if you're going to put your money somewhere, diversifying in the sense that spreading your bets on different things. So right now I love real estate. Mm-hmm. Real estate for me real estate and land. I mean, in particular, we're investing in Costa Rica because we see the growth potential and we're going, this is never going to be unpopular. So who doesn't want to live on a hillside overlooking the water in Costa Rica? So this is kind of a good bet. So we're betting on a lot of things that we have experience with. We do good research on, right? I would say, I always say, pay your future self. So whether that's a savings account, investing in the market, wherever you want to put your money, I just make sure that you're putting something away for your future self to make sure that you'll have something to pull from later, to harvest later, that you're planting now.
Yeah. Okay. What are you currently reading?
Ooh, what am I currently reading? I just finished $100 Million Offers.
Oh, so good.
So good. I'm all in the podcast now instead of the audiobooks. I think my next one, I did read the most recent one I was reading was The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni, I think is how it's spelled. Okay. It's about how to craft your core values in your business and how to really define core values, pay to play values. It actually splits it up in like honesty, integrity, and all that stuff is actually, he speaks against those as core values. He was like, yeah, we're human. We want that to happen. What will make the difference in your company between, a client joining you that aligns or doesn't align with these values? Like, what will make you fire a client? What will make you fire a person? Those are your core values.
Yeah. I love that.
That was really cool. I really enjoyed that book.
Some of your other favorite podcasts?
Oh gosh. My other favorite podcasts, I could literally look at Business Made Simple. Anything that Donald Miller does, I will consume in droves. I love Dean Graziosi for a little morning pick-me-up. And I'm actually looking right now at what I have in here. I love Brendan Burchard.
Yep.
I love me some Brendan. Oh, and Jackie Koch. I love her.
Love her. She's the best.
And of course, Gold Digger with Jenna Kutcher. That's another staple.
And Digital Business Evolution.
Of course. You say other. Other too.
Yeah. Give what you earn. Amazing. Okay. You can't say Costa Rica. Place you want to travel.
Oh, I'm dying to go to Italy and Greece. Jason can't do cobblestone, so I have to come up with a way to get there. I need friends to travel to Italy and Greece with.
Me. I'm dying to go to Greece.
I am so jealous. I want to look into Robin Kidd's.
Rob's.
Yeah.
We should do it. The next one's Dubai, though, which will be amazing. But I'm like, I want to do Mykonos.
One next year, though. I think they're doing one next year in Amalfi Coast.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, I got the itch. So maybe.
Yes, that would be incredible. Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh my God. My dad. Okay. Very, very briefly. Don't apply a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Ooh, say it again.
Do not apply a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Oh, it's so good. Your dad. What a guy.
Oh my God.
What a guy.
So
all right. We've got two more. This one is perfect for you. I am hypothetically writing you a $50,000 check right now that you can spend or invest for the business only. Where would you put this 50,000?
People. People. I would bring on my tax strategist, which I'm currently hiring for. I would get my associate CFO installed. I have an associate CFO. So if Angela's listening, yes, I have you. But I want to bring in people full time. I want to develop them, build them, and create the machine that will be Financial Solutions, so that I can step away, do more speaking, do more presence, and really be kind of a high level reviewer as opposed to a executor.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And then our last question. We all know that our business is a reflection of us, and it will only grow to the extent that we grow. You actually helped name our entire company. You were the one who came up with Digital Business Evolution. So I credit you to that, which is now also the podcast. So I would love to know, what is your next evolution?
Ooh, my next evolution. It's so funny. I'm going to tell you this, but I have not talked about this at all. My next evolution, my next plan will be when Financial is a proven machine and it's got all of its systems and processes in place, which we're very close to nailing. I'm actually going to be starting to coach other accountants on building it. So I will be working on some type of way to help coach others to build what similar to what we've built. But I've just learned so much along the way: mindset, tech stack, like strategy, marketing, that so many accountants are slipping up on. Like, I have a place here at the table if anyone wants help with that. I would be happy to share everything I've learned from you, from Michael, from everybody. It's going to be so great if I can help other accountants do that and then expand the impact.
Oh, I love it. All right, Shannon K. Weinstein, how can everybody find you? Where can they work with you? What should they do? How can they connect with you?
Number one way is go listen to my podcast. I promise they're bite-sized little episodes, very frequent. We're actually jumping to 5 a week.
Woo.
And this week. And and they're approachable. You'll enjoy it. And we also have an associated community with that, which we will link in here, I think. And you can join there, and we do monthly Q&A calls with me. So if you feel like you're a business owner who's not quite ready to hire somebody to join your team full-time and help out, which, by the way, is never a requirement. There's always part-time help. There's always getting scrappy, right? But if you want to jump in that community, ask questions and interact with other business owners, you can find us there. We're happy to help.
Is that free?
It's completely free.
Oh my gosh.
And we're using a lot of the questions. They're really helping us with content. And I love pouring into that community to teach. It's kind of another outlet, right? So I invite you guys to join in there, and we'll be making special announcements and exclusive offers in the future within that community. So
just incredible. Yeah. Oh man, Shannon, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much for coming on today. Listeners, friends, crew, if you loved this episode, please do me a favor and tag us, take a screenshot, throw it up on social, tag Shannon and I at Shannon K. Weinstein. I am Jessica DeRose. You can tag the Digital Business Evolution, but let us know your biggest takeaways and what you want to hear more of. It's the best gift that we can give back to our guests. So until next time, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.